I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Desert Shadows Middle School, followed by a moment of silence to honor the memory of Taylor Naget, a PV high school teacher who passed away. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Before we go on, do we have parents from Desert Shadows Choir here tonight? Raise your hand. Thank you so much. And another round of applause for this great choir. That was great. Thank you. Glad you could be here to support your students. May I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Baker,
Here.
Mrs. Greenberg,
Here.
Mrs. Christensen,
Here.
Mrs. Case,
Here.
Mr. Pantera.
Here.
Next on the agenda, approval of agenda, Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Case, governing members. Items approved by consent will not come up for discussion during the meeting, but will be adopted when the agenda is approved when adopted. This is possible since members of the governing board receive the agenda along with backup materials at least 24 hours prior to the meeting and have time to review and consider all items. Prior to the agenda being adopted, members of the governing board or audience may ask that an item be removed from the consent agenda and brought to the floor for discussion at the appropriate place on the agenda. I'd like to offer the agenda as posted with the following items as consent, with the following items as exempt. We'll take them individually. They've already been requested to be on the items for approval. So with the following exceptions: G, 6 and 7, 9, 15 through 19, and 23.
Thank you. Does any member of the board want to have anything else removed from the consent agenda? Yes?
G2.
G2. Okay. Anyone else on the board? Does any member of the audience want to remove an item from the consent agenda other than the ones that we have gone over? Seeing none. May I have a motion to approve the recommendation, the consent agenda as we've changed, please? Mrs. Greenberg?
Just the consent agenda or the entire agenda?
Yes, yeah, with the exception.
Okay, so moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is governing board statements. Mrs. Baker?
Thank you, President Case. I hope everyone had a wonderful spring break. I was in Chicago and Minnesota for spring break. It was freezing, so I was very grateful to come back. I've had lots of time to visit classrooms since our last meeting. I got to teach Art Masterpiece of Fireside, which I love doing. I love seeing the students. I got to volunteer with Pinnacle Choir and watch their amazing Pops concert. If you get a chance to go see one of Pinnacle's choir concerts, they are just wonderful. I got to go on several school tours, and I always enjoy my visits, and I love meeting the principals and staff members. Each school in our district has its own unique culture, but always, every time I go, all the staff and all the students are engaged, the students are learning, and it's just wonderful to see. So thank you to all the principals who took time out of their busy days to show me around. I went to Horizon, Sunset, Palomino Primary, and I got to go to Greenway. I really liked Greenway. I've heard it described as a war zone, but I gotta say, I was really blown away by the school. I heard singing in the office, which was wonderful. I saw students learning and participating in each classroom I visited. I met warm and friendly staff who truly cared about their students. The principal, Jorge Ontiveros, he had connections with so many of the students, and not just knowing them by name, but he knew games that were coming up. He knew what they were working on in class. Like, he really had connections with these students. There were so many positive things taking place at this campus, and the staff and the students should just be really, really proud of what they have built at Greenway. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pantera, do you have any comments?
Oh, sure. I'm used to going last. This is nice. I was thinking about this whole month being Women's History Month, right? And when I thought about that, the first thing that came to my mind was a quote: "I touch the future I teach." Krista McAuliffe, that came to mind. Why? Because 1986, I was teaching third grade at Air Libra. Margot Seck was the principal there. And I'm with my third graders teaching math. And the announcement came over. You know, the Challenger had been lost with all the crew. And there was these third graders all looking up at me like, what? On my desk was a packet that I'd written to NASA for. To get this packet, you're going to teach with Christy in space. And I've been psyching these kids up. We're going to do this science thing. And now, not only are we not doing that, but we've got this disaster on our hands. I still have that packet unopened, by the way. So I knew, I looked at them and I said, we're not teaching math, okay? They're not ready for it. They're all caught up in this. So we stopped, took the time, and I just listened to them, answered whatever questions they might have had, what feelings they wanted to express. I expressed some of my feelings. And then when they were ready, now we can move on. They're ready to maybe do some real learning. And it made me think about these kind of things are still happening. Look what happened in Nashville here just recently. Kids understand, they see what's going on there. All around the country, after these kind of events, there's still anxiety. How many rumors at schools after these kind of events happen where somebody thinks they see a weapon or something on campus? They're worried about this. I am glad that in this district, it's a lot better than 1986 when I was doing it. We have a lot of support for students to help them with any kind of feelings and emotions they're having about disasters at home, in the community, in the world. One good example I just saw this week at Echo Mountain Primary Intermediate, they have the Student Wellness Center. It's a great thing. And we have it. We didn't have it when I was teaching. I think it's fantastic. I'm proud of all the teachers and staff who understand that they touch the future they teach. And I hope to expand on these kind of programs in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Greenberg, do you have any comments? No. Okay. And congratulations on your son's wedding. Mrs. Christensen?
Welcome, everybody here. It's so nice to see so many community members here at the governing board meeting, especially when we have young people like the Horizon Soccer over here. I hope everybody had a restful spring break, and especially our teachers, because we're getting down to the wire, almost done with school. My family and I were blessed to have a nice, warm vacation in Barbados. So that was really nice. I had never been there. So that was a lot of fun for us. This recently I got to meet the PVA president, Diane Sigmund, and that was a wonderful conversation as promise to try to understand more of the heart of the teachers here and just all of the community members that we're supporting here as governing board members. So we had some great conversations, and looking forward to hearing more from her in the future. I also got to visit Desert Trails and explore middle school. And as some of the other governing board members have mentioned, and it's just such a wonderful time to go and to reach out and to actually see all of the community schools that we're actually representing out here. So it's really nice to be able to speak to the principals and see the kids' smiling faces. And it's just, it's one of my favorite things to do as a governing board member. I also got to visit the MS Sports Festival, and I got to see some exciting middle school girls basketball games, and so that was fun. I got a nice VIP tour of that. I got to ride the little golf cart to go between the games, so that was fun. And I was able to visit the PVA Prom Boutique, which is amazing, and I understand that the PVA has been doing that for about 8 years. Is that correct? 9 years now, and I think Mr. Pantera was one of the founding members of that, one of the decision makers to do that. So it's a great opportunity for those individuals that cannot afford, to get prom dresses or even accessories, boys or girls. So it's a really wonderful experience, and I was able to donate some items to that.
Thank you very much. I just want to make a comment. One of the reasons I ran for this school board many years ago was because I love the teachers that my children had. I have 7 children, and they've gone through PV schools, and the teachers made such an impact on my children's lives. And I've mentioned this before, we had a custom of having a teacher appreciation dinner in our home every year. And it's about this time of year when we did it. And I just want to say, with all the unfounded rumors going around about teachers, I would ask each of you to reach out and be grateful and thankful to your children's teachers and administrators. Figure out, write a note, have your child write a note. Think of some way to show your appreciation. These teachers work so hard and do so much and impact our students' lives. So could you just kind of think about that and make sure that they know you value what they do, because they spend a lot of time taking care of our students. And I just want all of us to show all the gratitude that we possibly can. Okay, next on the agenda is awards and recognitions by Dr. Bells.
President Case, it's always a pleasure to highlight staff awards and recognitions and student awards and recognitions. And this evening, Dr. Holmes will MC the honors. So would you please join me in front of the dais this evening?
Good evening, President Case, governing board members, Dr. Bales, members of cabinet, and attendees both in person and virtual. Tonight, we have several recognitions to share with you, and this evening we'll be inviting our honorees to the front of the room for the recognition and photo. Please make your way up to the front of the room after your name is called. Our first honoree this evening won first place in the Arizona Council on Economic Education Fall 2022 InvestRight competition. This student wrote an expansive and detailed essay about finance and stock market investments to secure the win. Congratulations go to 6th grader at Fireside Elementary, Annika Aaron. Congratulations, Annika. The next three students are all affiliate winners in the National Center for Women in Information Technology Awards Aspirations in Computing Award for their efforts and achievements in the field of STEM. Part of their story was also featured in episode 3 of the new district podcast, PVB. Please join me in congratulating from the CREST program at Paradise Valley High School, Asta Mittal. Also from the CREST program at Paradise Valley High School, Kaylee Patton. And finally, and also from the CREST program at Paradise Valley High School, Shrishti Rajiv. She could make it, okay. Congratulations, ladies. In a thrilling match that showcased the speed, agility, and talent of impressive student athletes, one of our high schools took home the first place win at the AIA 5A State Soccer Championships. Congratulations to the Horizon High School boys soccer team led by coaches Rafael Saragosa and Jacob Ramirez. Please join me in a round of applause for, but actually there's quite a few of these fine student athletes here. So if you could actually hold your applause until I get through each of them. Here we go. Aiden Murphy and Antonio Strati, Nicholas Moreno, Robert Jennings, Dylan Rotkamp, William Mobley, Justin Lazoya, Alexander Tomos, Canyon Floyd, Caden Cox, Francisco Aguilar, Noah Marrer, Luis Villa, Blake Thompson, Tanner Aronson, Isaiah Benjamin, Max Murchett, Dylan Chacon, Logan McPherson, Max Marino, Luca Nieri Lang, and again, our coaches Rafael Saragosa and Jacob Ramirez. Congratulations, gentlemen. Yeah, so parents want to take the pictures first? Parents, come on up. You're welcome to get the close-up. We have 15 more poses we'd like them to take. Gentlemen, congratulations. Fantastic team. Our final honoree has been the athletic director at one of our high schools for the past 5 years and was recently announced as the Arizona Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association 5A Athletic Director of the Year from Horizon High School. Congratulations to Dina Anderson. Mr. Newland, come on up. Proud athletic director. And mom. Congratulations, Miss Anderson. And that, President Case, concludes this evening's awards and recognitions.
Next on the agenda, call to the public. Tonight we have, I didn't count, I'm sorry. 6 yellow cards who've asked to have their remarks heard, and each speaker will have 3 minutes. And those who've been asked to speak on an agenda item will be recognized at the appropriate time during the meeting. And there are 5 cards for those. As a reminder, we ask that you please direct your comments to the board only. Please state your first and last name when you come to the podium. And now we're going to listen to the video.
Call to the Public is about to convene. This portion of today's meeting allows the public the opportunity to address the governing board. Although state law does not require that the governing board hold a call to the public, the Paradise Valley Unified School District and its board have chosen to do so because we believe it's important to hear about concerns and issues from our community. While Call to the Public is not designed to be a discussion, the board is here to listen. Due to Arizona open meeting law, the governing board cannot respond to, discuss, or take any action on items brought up during this time. However, staff members may be directed to get back to you and address individual concerns. As a reminder, the point of this and every board meeting is to accomplish the business at hand, and to be able to do so in an open and collaborative way. All in attendance are expected to observe meeting rules as well as rules of politeness and decorum, so that we may serve as an example to our students that issues can be discussed in a respectful and civil manner.
Please state your first and last name when you come to the podium. Our first speaker will be Mason Mills, followed by John Hassett.
Hello, I'm Mason Mills. I'm Ethan Mullins. I'm Chase Satarga. Hello, Madam President and members of the board. We are PVUSD's first robotics team, Team Paradise. We are a robotics team who creates robots from scratch using STEM skills we learn along the way. This year, we designed, built, and programmed a robot to pick up and shoot cubes onto shelves, balance on platforms, and take blows from other robots, in 2 months.
Last weekend, we, along with a team of 2 other robots, competed at a first regional competition against teams who come from all over the world, and we won. This qualifies us for the World Robotics Championship in Houston, Texas, which is in 3 weeks. This is a pretty big deal because it has been 15 years since our team has won a regional and 7 years since we have qualified to go to Houston. So this is very exciting for us.
In result, the past week and the upcoming 3 weeks, we are working to get paperwork finished, finances established, and even final design changes towards our robot. If you or anyone else you know would like to donate or mentor us, please contact us at team1165@gmail.com or donate towards the GoFundMe Team Paradise. If you would like to get in touch with us, we also have a fundraiser this weekend at Chipotle on 32nd and Bell this Saturday, and any and all support is appreciated. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you. Next, John Hassett, followed by Chris Turner.
Madam President, Board, good evening. I'm glad the room emptied out. I'll be a lot less nervous. I'm talking to you tonight about the Armed School Resource Officers. And since the internet does everything better than I do, I'll start with a meme I saw that I thought helped explain it very well. That's we defend our president with guns. We defend our celebrities with guns. We defend our banks with guns. We defend our courts with guns. We defend jewelry stores with guns. We defend sporting events with guns. We defend music festivals with guns. And we defend our children with a sign that reads, "This is a gun-free zone." Many churches have security programs that have armed individuals. And if you come to work and fly with me, you'll find armed pilots and air marshals on board the aircraft. According to crimesearch.org, between 1950 and June of 2019, 94% of mass public shootings occurred in gun-free zones. That's according to the FBI definition for a mass public shooting, which excludes shootings resulting from gangs or drug violence. The K through 12 shooting database says that so far this year, there have been 89 school shooting incidents. A school shooting incident for that database is where a gun was brandished, discharged, or a bullet hit school properties. That was as of March 29th, which is the 88th day of the year, which means there was more than one gun incident per day around the United States on school properties. Well, it occurs to me too, actually, that there's money for 2 armed officers here this evening to protect us. The school must protect the children. Armed school resource officers must be funded. Thank you for your time.
Chris Turner, followed by David Hickson.
Volume seems a little low. Hopefully you guys hear me if I lean in. Hi, it's my first time seeing you all in person. I came a long way to be here, all the way from California. I promise I won't bring a bunch of nasty Californian stuff with me. I did grow up in public schools there and I loved it. I wanted to go to school even when I was sick. But as a parent, after being there and being heavily involved in my school's life, private school and public school, for various reasons, I ended up homeschooling mine and children from other families. Families were seeking support as they were scrambling to escape what's been going on recently in so many schools there. The neighborhood homeschooling was wonderful, and I support school choice based on that experience. Everybody should try it if they can. My kids also attended public high school shortly. Some of them lasted 2 years, one of them lasted 2 days. Being to the harm of isolation, invasive, inhuman virtual programming, illegal mandatory medical interventions, constant emergency evacuations, shutdowns, discriminatory practices, and exposure to radical content and culture wars, which was all being perpetuated at school in our area. So I advocated ferociously for underrepresented families, providing endless sources of info and legal arguments to the school boards, only to learn that there, and maybe everywhere, the teachers' unions actually held all the cards and the power behind the closed doors. It sometimes took me 2 years and public record requests to find out what was really going on while all of my meetings were pretty much being ignored. So finding no resolve there, I actually found the board meetings to these Paradise Valley School meetings, and I was crying in relief as I saw parents stand up and take issue with the concerns that I had that were not unlike many others. It was amazing to see, and I want to thank those who did that, helped me gain the confidence to speak on behalf of my children as well. And I want to thank those like Sandra Christensen, who really heard the people in the area, in my community personally, that is here to represent us. And I do trust you, and I'm glad that you're here. I don't know many of you other than that, but I am looking forward to getting to know you. I do have one warning other than the warning I had about the teachers' unions, and hopefully I have a moment to express it. Basically, something that happened there recently in California, there was an all-girls softball team that was denied their rightful name, Lady Dragons. That was an heirloom that was passed down by their mothers who had played on the team for decades before. And this happened because a teacher complained that the female gender was not allowed to be printed on the clothing. So I was confused as to why schools will fly flags on campus that advertise acceptance of gender and sexual identities, but we cannot call a girl a lady. I hope we're not getting confused in Arizona too. I'm suggesting that we work very hard on getting co-ed sports. Personally, I loved co-ed PE. I didn't like the changing rooms, and I think we need private dressing rooms for many of the students. Thank you for hearing me.
David Hickson, followed by Barbara Jennings.
Good evening. First, I just want to echo your comment, Ms. Case, that my oldest daughter, Vanessa, she's at Pinnacle High School, and her teacher, Ms. Shea, is tremendous. I had opportunity to be a chaperone, if you will, at a DECA event going to Chase Field. And she had to herd, over 80 cats, if you will. So there are some great teachers in the district. So wanted to shout that out. But I also am up here tonight because I now have 12 and 15-year-old daughters that I actually have to ask them if they're being spoken to about trans matters. And it is just incredible to me that a child, even prepubescent children, are being exposed to this poisonous ideology. That is what it is, and you all know that. And I just implore you to monitor your staff. You obviously have good ones, as I've pointed out, but this has to stop. And Miss Karen, you had an opportunity to apologize for more of your inflammatory rhetoric in your tweets. You need to either resign or be quiet. We don't need to see or hear about your trans agenda. Our children do not need to be exposed to this disgraceful, disgusting topic. So please, stop. Thank you.
Barbara Jennings. May we keep our comments on a higher level, please? Barbara Jennings.
Yes, good evening. It's been a while since I've been here. I have never been so nervous about my child going to public school as I am now. Nervous for the students and for the teachers there. We all know of the tragedy that happened in Nashville, and yet nobody even takes a moment of silence to grieve for the families who lost 6 of their family members from a shooting. And again, just as was spoken before with that trans ideology, we all see now the devastating impact of what that's doing. It's lying to a child. To tell a child that they can change their sex is a lie. And that shouldn't be what our students or our schools are about. They should be about truth and telling facts. And it's only ever one-sided is ever approached. Nobody tells the story about those who went through transition, how they're depressed, how they're suicidal, and now they've removed body parts that they can't replace anymore. This is such a horrific tragedy, which is happening to our children. I can't, the horror. And the thing is that the environment is in our schools and it must change. I don't see our schools addressing the mental health issues. I don't see the assemblies regarding fentanyl, regarding social media, which now they say maybe this generation is going to be the first generation that has a lower IQ than a generation before. And we need to ask ourselves why. We need to ask, why are our students failing in school? And why are they having so many mental issues? And a lot of it is through social media. And I don't see our schools taking action to try to give these kids the tools, the strength to deal with it. I called our principal Strophus today. I told her I've never been so afraid. And I am afraid because of the mental issues that are going on. I'm glad that we do have 2 armed police on our campus, which reassures me because it is not guns that kill people, it's the people behind the guns. And that's what we need to address. We need to address the core of these issues, but I would like to see some of our funds spent on assemblies. And I've also like to see our schools speak about the other side of transition. Everybody is pro-transgender. You see these poor kids on the internet who went through that. They're given hormone therapy that nobody knows what the outcome will be for that or the results. And we need to start focusing on what our schools are about, which is about educating our kids in math and English and science, but also giving them tools of resilience because there's so much stuff on social media. So I hope we change directions. Thank you.
Lily Gresham. Yes.
Hi, my name is Lily Gresham, and someone said that kids don't need to be exposed to disgusting and disgraceful topics, and there shouldn't be explicit and offensive, disgusting content taught in schools. And so here we go. Please, my brothers, do not act wickedly. Behold, I have 2 daughters who have not had relations with men. Please let me bring them out to you and do to them whatever you like. Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come in after us. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and let us lie with him, and that we may preserve our family through our father. So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn lay with him, and she laid with her father, and he did not know. And on the following day, the firstborn said to her younger sister, Behold, last night I lay with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight, and you go and lay with him. Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. Here's another one. They became prostitutes in Egypt, engaging in prostitution from their youth. In that land, their breasts were fondled and their virgin bosoms caressed. Ohala engaged in prostitution while she was mine, and she lusted after her lovers, the Assyrians. She gave herself as a prostitute to all the elite of the Assyrians and defiled herself with all the idols of everyone who lusted after her. Therefore, I delivered her into the hands of her lovers, for whom she lusted. They stripped her naked, took away her sons and daughters, and killed her with the sword. But her sister, yet in her lust and prostitution, she was even more depraved than her sister. She too lusted after the Assyrians, but she carried her prostitution still further. As soon as she saw them, she lusted after them and sent messengers for them. Then the Babylonians came to her to the bed of lust, and they defiled her. After she had been defiled, she turned away in disgust. When she carried on her prostitution openly and exposed her naked body, I turned away in disgust. Yet she became more promiscuous, and she recalled the days of her youth when she became a prostitute in Egypt. And this one, there she lusted after her lovers, whose genitals were like those of donkeys and whose emissions were like that of horses. I will direct my jealous anger against you, and I will deal with you in fury. I will cut off your noses and ears, and those of you who are left will fall by the sword, and will kill your sons and daughters, and those of you who are left will be consumed by fire. Let's see, there's some more. God will dash infants in pieces and rip open pregnant women. God will rip open pregnant mothers to be. So we boiled my son, and did eat him. And I said unto her on the next day, give thy son that we may eat him. And she hath hid her son. Okay, now disgusting, disgraceful, explicit content. That's the Bible.
Next on the agenda,
Because I was called out, I would like to address my support of the trans community. The trans community has a 40% suicide and attempted suicide rate. If they can see one adult, one person who supports and loves these kids, maybe they won't be a statistic. And I am here to keep kids alive, supported, and well. And I will continue to be a voice for our trans community, and I will not apologize. Thank you.
next on the agenda is Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Case, Governing Board members, Cabinet guests. In light of recent events in Nashville, I want to provide our community with some additional information about our school safety procedures. And these tragedies, though often in areas far outside our community, spark fear and anxiety within our walls. However, working together to maintain and continuously improve security measures and our continued dedication to safety protocols, we are all able to own our own secure learning environments as a community. To find out more about information within our schools here in PV, visit our website. We've also posted quick links to our social media accounts for families to more easily access new web article and PV Beat podcast episode, all centered around safety in PV schools. Tonight, when the agenda was adopted, several bond projects were approved, and I'd like to take the opportunity and moment to thank our voters for supporting a bond that allows us to maintain the taxpayers' buildings by upgrading to meet new code requirements, installing features that will save money like LED lights and other projects that keep our campuses safe and aesthetically pleasing, all things that help create a positive, safe learning environment. So thank you to our voters. In PV schools, we engage, inspire, and nurture students through high-quality instruction, meaningful educational opportunities, and dynamic learning experiences. And one of those experiences is our own festival sports. As Mrs. Christensen mentioned, we celebrated our 7th and 8th grade girls basketball festival sports last weekend, allowing those students to learn and grow through developing teamwork, sportsmanship, and collaboration. Festival sports is available to 7th and 8th grade students at all of our K-8 schools and middle schools. And students can try softball, basketball, track and field, volleyball, flag football, and wrestling. The experience culminates with a festival tournament where students compete as a team against other schools using the skills that they learned. And this past weekend, the girls competed. The girls did a terrific job. Thank you to our teachers and coaches for providing our students with this unforgettable opportunity. If your child is interested in middle school athletics, please contact your child's school athletic director. Also pleased to report that that PV Schools was recently covered along with other districts by ABC 15 as part of their deep dive into classroom spending data. You will hear in tonight's presentation from Ms. Berrigan more information. However, the article that was published by ABC 15 can be found by visiting our website, newsroom, or social media. Lists PV Schools as #1 in classroom spending when compared to like districts. And when compared to all districts in Arizona, we rank in the top 3. This news illustrates our commitment to the classroom, and seeing that we are a leader in the state makes me very proud to be a part of our community. After countless hours of preparation and multiple spelling bees, PV Schools is proud to announce that Cy Manvikmal placed third in the Arizona State Spelling Bee. Cy is an 8th grader at Explorer Middle School, and this tremendous achievement is a testament to his hard work, dedication, commitment, and excellence. Not only did he have to demonstrate exceptional memorization skills, but also had to think quickly on his feet when faced with difficult words during the bee. In addition, he showed great poise under pressure while competing against some of the other best spellers in Arizona. Congratulations, Cy, you make us proud. Spring is here, and that means that state testing has begun. We want to remind our families that state testing is mandatory and vital for student success. These tests provide information that will improve how students are taught, how teachers are coached, and how we can better support students. The data also provides benchmarks to parents and students. It's important that students get plenty of rest, a nutritious breakfast, and are to school on time and ready to test. For more information on testing schedules, please see your students' school's calendar. In the second annual PV Schools District Science Fair, elementary and middle school gifted comprehensive students presented a variety of science projects. A total of 26 students earned first place awards and are advancing to the Arizona Science and Engineering Fair. That fair will occur on March 30th. I guess they're there today. All right. Congratulations and good luck to all those district students who are participating. And last but not least, it is tax season. And it is upon us to encourage families to make their year-end tax credit for the last tax year, fiscal 22. If you have not already done so, all those contributions help our schools, our students, and support our amazing programs. From extracurricular activities and character education to community meal programs and playground equipment, all tax credit contributions make a difference. What better way to ignite pride in your school? To make a tax credit donation, visit pvschools.net and click on the Support Our Schools link under the Community tab. The last day to make your 2022 public school tax credit contribution is April 18th. And those are my comments tonight, Mrs. Case.
Thank you, Dr. Bells. We've taken a few things off the consent agenda items, and we'll start with G2.
Yep. Blue cards. No. Blue.
They're going to go out of order. There's nobody else on number 2. Yeah. So, Mrs. Christensen, would you have a comment on G2?
Initially, when we discussed moving the governing board meeting from June 1st from 5 p.m. to 3 p.m., I didn't have a conflict, but now I do, and I will be unable to be there by 3. I can possibly be there by 4 p.m.
Okay.
And the current is scheduled at 5 p.m.
Right.
So
yeah,
I moved to amend the time.
I'm trying to make a flight. So yeah, I'm sorry. Does anybody else have a conflict?
You mean with the 4 o'clock time?
The what?
Clock.
With 3 or 4? Which
With,
time are we talking about?
with the 3 o'clock? Do you anybody else have a conflict with the 3 o'clock?
I do not.
No. I don't know quite what to say. So we can vote on the motion. I'm the one changing it. I feel really bad. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to get somewhere. So may I have a motion to approve G2?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Okay. G6, we have a card for G6 from Lily Gresham. And this is consideration and approval of administration evaluation systems for 23-24.
So I looked up and pulled up the evaluation systems and what is being graded, evaluated rather. And I wonder, how is it even possible to evaluate teachers or principals on such things as a learning environment, one that creates an environment of respect and rapport, when with classroom interactions, verbal and nonverbal, respectful of the cultural, developmental, and gender similarities and differences of students. And a teacher or classroom or school establishes a culture in which students feel safe and free to participate in discussions or academic discovery. When there is so much bigotry, discrimination, and I just wonder how anybody can evaluate when teachers are afraid to even bring up a topic or teach something that in reading or English or whatever. bec- the the evaluation component, the vision in all of these, it says to develop, advocate, and enact a shared mission, vision, core values, high quality education, and academic success and well-being. It says of each student. It doesn't say of most students, it says of each student. And strive for equity of educational opportunity and culturally responsive practices to promote each student's academic success and well-being. And I don't know how you can evaluate that a teacher, or when not only are teachers afraid of maybe teaching the wrong thing that may be offensive, but or losing their certificate, but now they're also afraid of going to jail. There are going to be charges criminally, class 5 felonies, and fined. I mean, no wonder there 25% of teachers are vacant in Arizona. I think this is a great thing. I think that they should be evaluating learning environments and procedures and all this professionalism and culture and equity and leadership and community in schools. But how is that even possible when there's so much discourse and so much, I don't know, animosity, discrimination, bigotry, xenophobia? Um, there's even a bill right now in that got passed, one part of the House, that would criminalize drag in the presence of a minor. And the bill, yeah, okay. The bill defines drag as singing and dancing while wearing makeup. No grinding. It says, I have it right
Excuse
here.
me, the audience.
This is about evaluation, because I went to a play at the school.
Thank you. Your time's up. Um, um, May I have a motion, please, from Mrs. Greenberg on G6?
So moved.
All those in favor of G, are there any board comments on G6? Yes.
Our speaker asked if, how do you know? How do you find out these kind of things about environment and safety? Feeling safe in your classroom, whether you're been treated with respect, the environment she's talking about. One thing we used to do to evaluate is students are surveyed. You give a class a survey at the beginning of the year, and they talk about some of these issues. How do you feel about? Do you feel safe? Do you feel like you're being heard? Do you think you've been treated fairly? And then you compare these surveys throughout the year to help you with that evaluation, so you know what you're actually doing with the students there. It's a tough job to do that. All these things that teachers and administrators do is tough, but I'm just trying to say there's systems and ways to find out these, to quantify some of these areas. I'm trying to answer that question. Is that all right?
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Christensen.
I'm having a hard time with the amount of items in consent that we're voting on blanketly. So I was grateful that some of the community members pulled these out. In terms of student academic measures, there are a number of percentages in here in order to help evaluate. And my biggest concern is that we didn't have a study session on this or any um, a, a lot of discussion, and I'm having a hard time with a lot of these items that community members pulled out and just making blanket votes on them without thoroughly discussing the details. Obviously, there's some concerns from community members because they pulled a lot of out, but I also have some concerns, and I would prefer to possibly have some open discussions on these to determine if these evaluation measures are going to be effective.
Dr. Holmes, would you please summarize the process for developing this administrative instrument, which is this item, G6?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Bales, Madam President, members of the board. We have a standing committee that meets on an annual basis to review the evaluation tool, to review data associated with it, and to make recommendations for possible changes. So that committee met as it always does this past fall and is making no recommendations for change this year. So what we have before you this evening is the same instrument that is being used currently. I'm not entirely sure of the origin of this tool, but I believe it was originally
On the administrative tool?
Oh, are we asking about the administrative
Yes.
tool or the? Oh, I'm so
That's the
sorry.
Item is G6.
I'm so.
These are the ones
I
that have
apologize. I
substantial
was-
changes that are focused on 3 goals for administrators.
Yeah, I apologize. Her comments
Thank
were
you.
on the teacher tool. So, as far as the administrator tool, this is a substantive change, as has been communicated. We had brought together a committee of leaders this year from both PVP and COA to review proposed changes to the instrument. So we went through that process in the fall. Once we completed that, we looped out to the leaders of the association for their input. And once we completed that, we looped out to administrators at large. So all of the members of our administrative team, both in COA and PVP, have had a chance to review this document and provide comment as to whether or not they felt like this was appropriate or changes required. And as a result of that, the entirety of that process, we have before you this recommendation for this evaluation tool for our administrators.
Are there any board comments or questions? I have a comment. From what I understand, in G6, it's the administration of evaluation systems, and it's moving toward more of goal setting than before. It's been more like the teachers, and now it's more toward goal setting. And I think that's really good to have the opportunity to set goals with your supervisor and to really think about what's important, and then their evaluation is based whether they reach those goals or not. So I think that's a really good opportunity for our administrators. Do you have any comments, Dr. Bells?
Yeah, and just the student achievement component is part of this instrument as well, right? And so how well the school performs is part of the instrument. That's 20% of the instrument. 20% of the final evaluation is determined by the student achievement.
Mrs. Greenberg?
Well, it should be at least 20% because a single administrator could choose to
Could be more.
incorporate student achievement.
It
as part
absolutely
of their
could be
goals as well.
more as this tool is focused on our leaders' personal professional growth, and that is an area that they could select and put more emphasis on.
Any other comments? Mrs. Christensen?
I agree with a lot of your statements on, I'm happy to see about the student academic measures and things of that nature, but I think my issue is that we approve a lot of these items without discussion, and I understand we do a lot of things by committee, but ultimately when we as a board are approving items, it would be helpful to have these discussions. And it just, when I'm reviewing the documents, it says changes, but there's no highlighted changes. I don't know what it was before. It's hard. It's very difficult to make decisions on items that I don't know what we're comparing to. I don't know what we're changing, and I don't know what it looked like before. So in the future, I would like to see a lot of these items, either maybe a study session or something where we would get more explanation. And a similar comment to a lot of the things that we approve through expenditures, because we are a district that we are promoting transparency and fiscal responsibility. But I personally have a hard time just blanketly approving a lot of these items under consent agenda. And I just think if we were more thoughtful as a board, we would maybe not have so many items in consent agenda and put them either in study sessions or for items for approval.
Okay, any other comments? May I have, Mrs. Greenberg, oh, you made the motion, okay. All those in favor to approve G6, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
I would,
Any abstentions?
Any abstentions?
I abstain due to not having enough information to be able to evaluate this tool.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to G7. Dr. Bells. We have, yes. Mrs. Gresham, did you cover 7 when you did 6? Did you have another comment on 7? Okay. Then come up to the microphone, please. Thank you. And then next up is Nicole Klutwick.
This is on the principal evaluation, right? Or the,
G7 is the teacher evaluation system.
okay. I think I did that backwards. Okay. So on the teacher evaluation, it says classroom interactions are respectful and of the cultural, developmental, and gender similarities and differences of students. Well, how is that possible when we don't include all students? We only include white, Christian, Catholic. I mean, we exclude trans kids. We exclude, I mean, how does that work? It says students' learning environment. And it also says to advocate and enact a shared vision and core values of high quality education, academic success, and well-being of each student and community. Inclusive, caring, supportive school community that promotes academic success and well-being of each student. And pretty much just what I said before about how is it possible that any student feels inclusive when they're not seen or heard. And teachers are afraid to teach because otherwise teach reality, teach facts, teach, I don't know, can't teach about the Civil War because that would be offensive to some people. And so they're afraid now, I think, just as much for being locked up and jailed and having to pay fines and or just lose their license. And that's all.
Thank you. Nicole Klutwick? I'm saying it wrong. I apologize.
Klutwick. I should have spoken on 6 as well. I just do have to add a note. My note on 7 is, I don't remember if it was 40 or 60 pages. This particular calibration, this particular document, which is used to evaluate teachers, but that's not nearly enough time to give to parents. I know you got all of the teachers and administrators' viewpoints, but you didn't have time to get parents' viewpoints. And it's very disheartening to me that it's in a consent agenda to be rubber stamped without giving people adequate time to review it. I would imagine it would be fine. And you guys used to do this. You'd bring it up, you'd say, okay, we have it. We're going to sit on it until next board meeting so we have time to think. And I'm very disappointed that you didn't do that with 6 because while it does take student achievement into consideration, I just want you to know that you just approved something so that if the way that the numbers work, if it's 20% is student achievement, well, if you get 1% of your students are achieving, meaning 99% are below grade level, they still get half of that points, which means they could still be a 90% achievement in their total evaluation, right? You could have mathematically a principal with a school with 1% at academic achievement and still say you are 90% of the way there. That's what you just approved. Please take some of this stuff out of your consent agenda and think about it and consider it and give others to think about it, time to think about it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion from any board member? Oh, may I have a motion, Mrs. Greenberg?
So moved.
For G7, is there any comment from board members?
Oh, go ahead.
Mrs. Baker, go ahead.
Thank you. I read through this. I was a teacher myself for 7 years in a different district, and I just really appreciate the time and the effort and the clarity in this tool. Dates are outlined, steps are outlined. I looked in to see who was on the committee. They are very trusted, experienced teachers in our district, and I appreciate that their input went into it. And parents are experts in their children. They're not experts on teachers. They did not go to school to get their education degree. And while they do need to have input, I'm a parent myself in the district, they don't know how to evaluate teachers. And so I trust the teachers and the administrators and the other members of the committee that put the time and effort into this evaluation tool.
Any other?
President Case, just to clarify, item G7 regarding the teacher evaluation system, there are no changes to the instrument for next year other than the dates and such. So the instrument is the same next year as it has been this year.
And go ahead.
Weren't they going to make some change regarding specialists? I guess
The
not.
evaluation instrument has only date changes.
Okay, I'm just clarifying for my own mind there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mrs. Christensen?
Again, I'm happy that we are thoughtful in these evaluation tools, but some discussion prior to approval would have been helpful to walk us through this and for example, hearing that Dr. Bell said there were no changes from last year. The other comment that I would like to make, based on the community comments, is I do think that we as a district try to be inclusive, and I'm really tired of hearing that term being abused in our district. And I will give you an example of being very inclusive in our district. My child is in the Horizon Choir, and in that choir, there are Christians and atheists and people of all faith and all genders. And when they come together and they sing, it's beautiful. And they're not, they may be joke around and, with people, but I'm really getting tired of talking about our kids by the color of their skin and their gender. They all deserve respect. We needed to set the bar high for all of them and love each of them individually. And we don't have to call out their skin color, and same for the teachers. All our teachers deserve respect. And it's getting, I just personally am a little bit frustrated with that term. In terms of this agenda item, again, I just wish that we would have more more time when I was reviewing these at home. It was a bit overwhelming to have so much under consent. So those are my comments.
Okay, may I make a comment? This hasn't changed from what we've had before, and I guess you didn't understand that this didn't have changes. In the past, we have gone through this step by step by step and paragraph by paragraph. And there are 3 new members of the board. I think, Mr. Ventura, you have gone through this as a teacher, so
Yeah, I've been, they've used this device with me for years.
for years. And so this has been an ongoing, and so I didn't find a reason to put it not on the consent agenda because we've used it for so long. And perhaps, ask these questions before the school board meeting. I don't know. I used to, like I said, when we talked about Dr. Quickard, I would take in my board book and I would have dozens of questions every board meeting. So I understand it's all new, but so ask those questions. And there are answers. We're not trying to hide anything. It's been around for a long time. And so I felt comfortable with it being on the consent agenda because we've used it for so long. Any other comments?
And I would just like to make a point that I'm not the one that pulled all of these out of consent. The community members would like to see discussions on these items as well. So I just wanted to make that statement.
And in the
that-
past, we have had them in open board meeting and we have gone through all of these very carefully. So we try to make our meetings as concise and as we can. We have already had a motion. So on G7, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay. Number 8 was on consent agenda. Next item is G9. And that is Nicole Ludwig.
I actually read your agenda and go through it. So if I have questions, I'm actually all of the other ones, just so that you know. So if you want me to stay up here, I can. So on the nurses going to Orlando the weekend before 4th of July, I just looked it up. They have an online conference. I know we're trying to pinch pennies and such. And so that's a few $1,000s. I'm just wondering if anybody considered the fact that there's an online, that you don't have to fly there. You get the same breakout sessions and general sessions online. And that, again, would save us several $1,000s. So that's it.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Are there any comments from the board? Mrs. Christensen?
I made a similar comment when there was travel with online options. I think as a district, when we're trying to be fiscally responsible, we should look at all options, including online travel. And while I understand that it's funner and better maybe to go in person, if we really truly want to be fiscally responsible, we would look at all options, including online.
Thank you. Dr. Bells, do you have a comment? No. Okay. Any other comments from the board? We've had a motion, so all those in favor of G9 say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Thank you. 4 approve and 1 disapprove. G15, consideration to approve purchase from current PV contract JOC for restroom remodel at Horizon High School. We have a comment for G15 to G19. Do you want to cover all those together? Okay.
It's all the same issue. So like I said, I actually read the agenda and look at it. And all of those, they were kind enough to start breaking out costs more. And so we can see the materials cost, the labor cost, and this other cost, which is called fees and soft costs. I have no idea what fees and soft costs are. I would imagine they're bond fees and maybe permits and licenses. But these fees and soft costs, for instance, on the roof upgrades at various sites, account for $412,000 and account for 33% of the cost. And we don't even get to know what it is. It's a soft cost. I mean, when I was in the corporate world, we would have hard training, hard technical training, and we'd have soft training. And soft training was like managerial skills, right? Like talking to people. So I'm like, is this talking? Is this training on how to talk? I don't know what it is. In some of these, we're paying for their tools. Like we're buying their tools for them. Why are we using a contractor where we have to buy their tools for them? Shouldn't they already have the tools to do the job? It's very, very bizarre. And there's a lot. That 133% is not an anomaly. All of these have very, very high costs for soft costs. On a project of about 130,000, the first one, Horizon, has 52,000 in soft costs. The next job has about 300,000, 330, 83,000 of that is soft cost. The next one is about 600,000, 122,000 of that is soft cost. The next one is 160,000 of soft cost. And then, like I said, the last one is $412,000 of soft cost. I would think that as board members, you would want to know what that is before you approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
Present.
Do you want to comment now before we? Okay.
So just to clarify, Ms. Berrigan, would you please answer the question regarding soft costs?
Soft costs can include things such as bonds, taxes, insurance, warranty, and contingency funds.
May I have a motion, please?
This is just on G15.
G15.
So moved.
What? Are there any questions from the board? Yes?
I have a question on the restroom remodel. Do we know if this was because of vandalism, or are we making substantial changes? I did read that they have never been remodeled and it's an older building. But I know that the Deer Valley District, for instance, has some really nice recommendations and they do have the common areas for hand washing, and the stalls go all the way up. And so and they lock, and it could be any gender could use it. And so I was wondering if our district has ever considered some of those, because I know that there's some issues with restroom, including vaping and other shenanigans in the restrooms. And but also individuals have expressed concerns about safety in restrooms, either bullying or other things, and some individuals just don't want to be in a common area. So have we discussed any of those when we're doing these restroom remodels?
I think there were a few questions there.
Yeah,
I'll try
I
to remember all of
apologize.
them. No, there was no vandalism other than probably typical graffiti on the partitions and walls. So this is just because this is original. Horizon was built, I believe, in 1980. So those restrooms are as old as I am. In terms of the consideration, we are not making any considerations to change the gender indications of the restrooms, if that's what you're asking. To change them from group restrooms to individual stalls would be quite a bit more expensive.
And just to clarify, these are bond dollars approved by the voters, that the scope of work was outlined in the bond plan for maintenance, and with a building built in 1980, as described in the backup materials for both the public and the board. This is new sinks, new partitions, plumbing fixtures, new tile, epoxy flooring, LED lighting, drywall, and paint. And it is all original. This is the first remodels of these restrooms.
Are there any other comments on this item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Thank you. And then I will go to G16 for the consideration to approve purchase from current PV contract JOC for exterior lighting at Horizon. And that has to do with safety and saving money on having LED lighting there. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Yeah, she said she grouped them all together. Yeah, so any comments on G16 from the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? No. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Consideration to approve purchase from JOC for emergency egress at Paradise Valley High School, which is the egresses are the safety areas. And this is a first time upgraded. May we have a motion, please, for G17?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? 5. All those, motion passes unanimously. Consideration to approve purchase for JOC for pipe upgrades at North Canyon High School. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
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 I would like to discuss.
Oh, would you like
Yes.
to discuss, excuse me?
I was just curious, is this a pipe upgrades? This sounds important. Is it a safety issue, or are they cracking, or is it just time? Time for, because I know that.
Yeah, the scope of the work includes removal of all cast iron soil pipes in the ceiling. So this is a health and safety issue, and this would upgrade them to ABS Schedule 40. Ms. Berrigan, would you like to add anything else?
Yeah, these are main sewage drainage lines that are failing. They're original with cast iron material, not a good material.
Okay. Thank you. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. G19, consideration to approve purchase for roof upgrades at various sites. There's 3 elementary schools. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Mrs. Christensen.
Just similar comments. I would like to thank Mrs. Berrigan for putting more information on these to help us make these decisions, because in the past we've had just a line item. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate that there is more detail for us to make these decisions.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. And then skip G23. May I have a motion, please? Oh, excuse me. G23, we have a comment from Nicole Kudwick.
A finance person, what can I say? Numbers matter to me. So on the verification of vouchers, and I've brought this up to a couple board members, I believe, and I may have mentioned it to Jill before too, but I don't understand why this is the only PDF in the entire agenda that is not searchable. I can do a Control F and search for anything in any other PDF that's attached to this agenda, but in this particular one, vouchers, which is pages and pages. I don't know, it 40, 60, 100 pages sometimes. I don't know how much. It's the only document that's not searchable, which is probably the one that maybe constituents since it's dollars out the door, might be the most interested in searching. It's the longest, the most complex, and it's actual dollars every single line item. So this is just my way of requesting that that be made a searchable PDF in the future. Thank you.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Are there any questions or comments on this? I wanted to ask Ms. Berrigan, is that possible to have it searchable?
I don't know. We could certainly look into that.
Okay, if you could look into that and let us know, I'd appreciate that. Vouchers are very, very long. But just for example, what's included in the vouchers, if a club on campus spends money, it has to go through vouchers, whether it came from student funds. I'm just giving you an example. They're very complicated and very long, and I've gone through them in great detail for years. Yes, Mrs. Christensen.
I just wanted to say that I had the same concern my first board meeting that Mrs. Kludwick had, and I wanted to assure the community that we do have a clerk that goes through them in detail, and Mrs. Greenberg is doing it, and I am the lucky one that gets to do it next time. So that we're not just approving them just based on this one PDF. There's a person that I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just trying to give more information out. And like I said, I did have that concern, and after sitting with Mrs. Greenberg and going through them, it did alleviate some of my concerns. It is a lot. We are a very big district, and there's a lot of money going out of the district to support a lot of different types of items. But yeah, that was a great, Mrs. Kludwick, that was a great suggestion. It would be helpful to have it searchable, but just wanted to say that we do go over them prior to this.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? All those in favor to ratify the vouchers, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is items for approval. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Case, governing board members, cabinet and guests. And tonight we present for approval 3 outstanding employees ready for the next level leadership role. Dr. Holmes.
Thank you, Dr. Bales. Madam President, members of the board, Ms. Dina Cabrera is currently our ESSER grant technician prior to her current role. She was an administrative assistant at Greyhawk Elementary and has been with PV Schools since 2017. She also has experience as a director at a child care center. And if approved, she will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the COA bargaining agreement. We recommend you approve Ms. Cabrera to be the next benefits coordinator.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Do you have a comment?
I just wanted to say congratulations. It was nice meeting you before the board meeting. Sorry that you had to sit through all of this to get your your promotion, but congratulations.
Thank you. So
I
think we passed it. Yeah, it passed.
I think they did.
It passed 5-0. Welcome.
And congratulations, Ms. Cabrera.
Do you have family here with you? Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're so excited to welcome you to this new position. Thank you.
Next up, Dr. Drew Davis is currently the principal at Hidden Hills Elementary School with 27 years of service in public education, including 20 years in various leadership positions. He earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in secondary education from NAU, a Master of Education in guidance counseling from ASU, and a Doctorate of Education in educational leadership from NAU. If approved, he will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the COA bargaining agreement. We recommend you approve Dr. Davis to be the next Director of Facilities and Construction.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Dr. Drew Davis for the position of Director of Facilities and Construction as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Dr. Davis.
Congratulations. Do you have family here with you? Oh, great. And the meeting's gone on long enough, your daughter playing a game might have had time to come. Thank you. Congratulations. I'm sure you'll have lots of questions from this board. Dr. Holmes.
Thank you. Ms. Jennifer Jarris is currently an assistant principal at Paradise Valley High School with 4.5 years leadership experience and 14 years of teaching experience. She earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism from ASU and her Master of Arts degree in educational administration from GCU. If approved, she will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the PVP bargaining agreement. We recommend you approve Ms. Jarris to be the next principal at Explorer Middle School.
May I have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Jennifer Jarris for the position of principal of Explorer Middle Schools as presented?
So moved.
Any board members wishing to make a comment? Yes?
Just wanted to say congratulations and to all three of you. And it is exciting that we can promote really good quality people from the PB district.
Mrs. Baker?
Yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations as well. I'm excited to have you as principal at Explorer. My son will be there next year, so thank you.
I'd like to say that I'm glad so many of our people have started in this district or even were former students in this district and are coming back to be hired. That really excites me about that.
It is paradise. Okay, so
Can I
all
say
those in
congratulations?
favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Jarris.
Congratulations. Do you have family or friends to introduce? Do you have family or friends to introduce? That's wonderful. Congratulations. Next on the agenda is Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Case, Governing Board members, Cabinet, and guests. And tonight, we present for approval the COBRA administration, health, life, employee paid dental, vision, flex spending accounts, and short-term disability providers and the premiums. The amendment to this recommendation is no change to the premium on short-term disability, otherwise as presented. We'd be happy to answer any questions as well.
Okay. And are you turning it over to Dr. Holmes?
Thank you very much. I will tell you, he said much of what I was prepared to say. We do recommend your approval with the amendment suggested.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Any discussion from board members? In my discussions with Dr. Bells, it's slight changes with the dependents, and other than that, in the previous 3 years, there's no money has increased on the insurance.
We've
for
had no
the-
increase on the employee side.
On the employee
Yeah, on
side.
the employee side for 3 years.
Okay, thank you. That's good to hear with everything teachers go through. Thank you very much. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any oh, wait. Yes. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is gifts and donations. We have many donations to our district, and we are so grateful for all of them. I'd like to mention a few. Copper Canyon Elementary PTO gave $1,000 for copy paper. Progression Marketing gave $3,000 of donations of furniture, office furniture for school use at Desert Shadows Middle School. Desert Trails Elementary School PTO donated $1,800 for trash cans, etc. at Desert Trails Elementary School. Dorito Partners donated $1,000 for Caught Being Kind store at Echo Mountain Intermediate School. Greyhawk Elementary School PTO gave $1,500 for the 5th grade field trip at Greyhawk Elementary. And Raquel Kimball gave $1,000 to the Person of Character Scholarship at Horizon High School. Quill Run PTA gave $5,600 to the ball pit for playground at Quail Run Elementary School. And Red Gates Trainer Mustang by R82, $10,000 for the related services PT use. The donor was Yvonne Adam at Paradise Valley School District. Are there any other comments on that one? No. Okay. So those are just a few of the many donations. Oh, one more, excuse me. Sky Crossing Elementary School PTO gave $30,000 for an outdoor classroom shade structure. Those are so expensive. And we appreciate that. And may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is items for discussion. Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Case, Governing Board members, Cabinet guests, and tonight, Ms. Berrigan will present on the Auditor General's Classroom Spending Report for PV schools for fiscal 22. I mentioned it briefly in my superintendent's comments, and Ms. Berrigan will present more details.
Thank you, Dr. Bales and President Case and Governing Board members. As I previewed at the last board meeting, we do have some interesting information from the Classroom Spending Report from fiscal year 22. And I know it seems like a long time ago, but this report from the Office of the Auditor General just came out on March 1st. And so want to share that information with you this evening. We don't cover all of the report this evening, so feel free to go and look at the details of that, but wanted to cover some highlights and some important pieces. This is one of the first pieces that is found in that report, the pie chart, as we all refer to it as. And it splits between the classroom spending and the non-classroom spending within school districts. You'll see that our total classroom spending is at 74.8% for fiscal year 22. That is what Dr. Bales was referring to, and that we are the highest in classroom spending within our 11 peer districts, as well as third highest in the state of about 235 districts. Within that, there is the instruction function, student support function, and instruction support function. And all of these categories follow the National Center for Education Statistics so that we can not only compare to other school districts within the state, but school districts across the U.S. For non-classroom spending, that's at 25.2%, and you see administration at 7.7, plant operations at 12.1, food service at 2.3, and transportation at 3.1. Just to help everyone that doesn't do this every day with what instructional expenses include, the biggest piece of that is personnel, which is in any of our budgets, our salaries and benefits. But for instruction expenses, that includes teachers, paraprofessionals, and substitute teachers as examples. It also includes instructional supplies, instructional aids, activities for field trips and athletics, and tuition paid to private institutions. That's generally for special education students who we don't have the ability to service within the school district, so we fund a private situation for them. Non-instructional expenses include plant operations. You see some of those details there, but that's basically the operations of our school sites and district facilities. That includes student support, instruction support, food service, and transportation. Oh, there we go. My vision's not quite that good. This is a comparison of those classroom dollars and administrative costs between ourselves. You'll see in the first column for each of these areas with PVUSD compared to our peer average, the state average, and the national average. Again, our peer average is 11 school districts. For our classroom dollars, just the instructional piece only, we were at 6,771 per student. Our peer average was about 800, a little less than $800 below that, and state average even lower than that. That national average is quite a bit higher, but the national average for funding for students is a lot higher than Arizona. The next piece is the classroom dollars that also it includes the instruction above, but also includes the student and instructional support. We're at a little over $8,600, and our peer average is about 1,000 less than that at 7,600. State average, another couple hundred below that. National average, again, a little bit higher because the per pupil funding in other states is higher than Arizona. With administrative costs, we're at about $891 per pupil, with our peer average being higher at $921, and the state average being higher than that at $1,088. In general, larger school districts have a lower administrative cost just because there are some efficiencies when you have a larger school district. There's, various things that just stay at one level. National average is fairly comparable to that, but the national averages from the U.S. Census Bureau from 2020, that's the most recent data that we have. So we're actually comparing national average for all of these numbers from 2 years prior to what this data was. As soon as we have updated data, we'll provide that, but it's definitely higher than those numbers now. This chart is also in the classroom spending report. It's a little bit of a newer chart. It includes the average teacher salary. And you see the dotted red line across the top is the state average for teachers and the corresponding number by year, starting with fiscal year 17. The lighter blue is the district average teacher salary, and then the darker blue is the amount that's included from what says CSF on there. That's Classroom Site Fund. So we get those additional funds from Classroom Site Fund. And you can see we're right about at the state average. Some years we were below. The instructional spending district comparison and the changes from fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 22 in comparison to these districts. I don't include all of the Auditor General's peer districts that they include us with, those 11 peer districts. Some of them are outside of Maricopa County, and they're not generally districts that we would compare ourselves to. But just within this, you'll see that for Paradise Valley, our instructional spending comparison has increased by 1.3% from fiscal year 21 to 22. And you'll see some other districts where it's decreased quite a bit. We sort of catch up to each other from year to year. We may be in a position where we're catching up with other districts next year because they see how well we've done this year. But I try and celebrate the year that we have and the positive data that we have with this. This is the total classroom spending comparison, so that all three of those areas added up together were again at that 74.8% that you saw on that first pie chart, which is an increase of 1.5% from fiscal year 21. And you'll see actually in this case, most districts decreased their overall classroom spending in those three categories, and we were able to increase. And then with the administrative spending, we decreased from 8.9% in fiscal year 21 to 7.7% in fiscal year 22, a decrease of 1.2%. And you'll see the comparison districts there. With that information, I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions from the board? Mrs. Christensen?
Thank you for presenting this today. And it is great to highlight the dollars in the classroom, and because I think we all agree that we want to put more dollars into the classroom. And I've been reading studies that say that the higher percentage of dollars in the classroom, the higher the student achievement. And so my question is, do we have any metrics that will equate dollars and academic achievement, because that is the goal of education, is to have high student outcomes. And so is there anything that we can maybe in the future, I know that this is just highlighting the Auditor General report, but would it be possible to get data to correlate the increase in spending and hopefully increase in academic achievement? Or just at least see comparisons?
Um,
Do we have that? I don't know if we do. No?
Dr. Bales, do you want to take that one?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't believe we have what you're trying to articulate. But let me do a little research and see what else is out there. But no, there's not an easy direct report that correlates student achievement and dollars to the classroom.
If I could add to that, Dr. Bales, I think that is in part what the Office of the Auditor General's Classroom Spending Report is attempting to do. I don't think it's so clear as you spend this dollar and you get this return on investment like a business. But I think that that is probably the attempt of the Office of the Auditor General report, and that's why there's various different metrics that are on that report, so that people can kind of put all, or that even what's on there isn't all of the data, not even close, but put together some of those key pieces of data to help make some of those conclusions.
Are there any other?
My apologies, the instructional passing percentages are on that report, the teacher salaries on that. I think that is the intention behind their report.
Are there any other questions or comments? I have a comment that I'm grateful that we put so much attention to money spent in the classroom, because that's where it all happens. And I appreciate when we pay attention to this, and I think that this district does. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we adjourn, I would like to remind you that the next regular board meeting will be held on Thursday, April 20th at 7 p.m. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.